Everybody, to the first or to the DIHNET final event on future and shape of the EU DIH ecosystem. My name is Ruud Baartmans. I'm the project coordinator of DIHNET, and today we are happy to share with you and discuss with you our thoughts on the future and shape of the DIHNET of the DIH ecosystem with you. I will shortly introduce the agenda, the house rules during the event, and a couple of slides on the DIHNET project itself. So first, the house rules. Please have a look at them. Marta can share it. Can share these in the chat. So basically, I think it's quite straightforward. I'll give you a couple of more seconds to read it. Right. Then to the agenda that you may have seen as well. So after welcome, I will hand over to Anna-Puig, which is our project officer of the DIHNET project. Then we have a session on DIHNET community and connection with other initiatives during the DIHs by Mayte. Followed by a panel discussion on the DIH and DIH network collaboration in Europe by Reinhard, profiling the DIH ecosystem, challenges and tools by Begonia. And then we have a coffee break at around 10:45. Next, we will have a session on the importance of encouraging links between the DIHs and the private sector by Olivia. A session on the future of the DIH ecosystem by Maurits, and a panel discussion on the future of the DIH ecosystem by Christina, and then the closure by Annemarie Sassen. Well, the DIHNET project, I guess you have been in one or more events or webinars before. It's a CSA that is focused on enabling the European and national and regional coordination of European, national and regional initiatives directly supporting digital transformation and digital innovation hubs. And we offer tools, strategies, and information to members of the EU DIH community so that they can better collaborate. The project lasted 3 years. We started in November 2018, so it's ending this month, and much has happened since then. Of course, we had to deal with the whole COVID situation, so many of the events and activities went online. So just to give you a flavor of some of the highlights, well, many webinars on thought leadership issues, on sustainability of the networks. We have our great team of DIHNET ambassadors. We have a thorough continuous social media presence, the Champions Challenge, and of course the EDI conference earlier this year in last January, and I may have forgot a couple of more. With this, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all the whole DIHNET team, our DIHNET advisory board, the ambassadors, of course the project officers, Anna and Matthias, and of course the whole DIHNET project team with people from euRobotics, Funding Box Technalia, Blue Morpho, LuxInnovation, and of course TNO. With that, I would say this is the end of the project, but every end is a new beginning. And with that, I would like to hand over to Anna.
Thank you, Ruud. Thank you very much. And thank you, DIHNET, for inviting me and thinking of me for the opening talk. So yes, my name is Anna-Puig Centelles. I'm the project officer. I'm working in HaDEA. And I was working in DG Connect with the team of Annemarie Sassen, who trusted me with this important project. It's very important, policy speaking, because as you may know, this is a coordination and support action, and it's an umbrella of all the CSAs of the CSAs of the I4MS and SA initiatives. So for us, this has been a project with an impact. So yes, DIHNET helped to coordinate the DIH program. So and the DIH program has been evolving during the past years, and DIHNET has been there to support us in this trip. However, DIHNET is arriving to the end as a EU-funded project, but I would say that that's not the end of its lifetime, because for us, DIHNET has left an important legacy. From Commission view, I would like to stress that DIHNET has succeeded in disseminating potential solutions, services, and technologies. And among the legacies, I would like to mention the DIH catalog, the yellow pages, our repository, that you can see all the DIHs in Europe. You can go, you can search, and it's a very powerful tool that it's being used. Another important point is the DIH community, this nice platform that's being used by all of you, and this is gonna be there and remain. So please join if you have not done it yet. And of course, the potential sustainable business models of the DIH network that you have been giving and explaining and supporting and working on. So yes, after these 3 successful years together, I want to celebrate with you these project highlights. I know you're going to be today presenting everything more in depth with another ideas, but let me tell you that definitely DIHNET has contributed to create a network of DIHs in Europe, which has left an impact in strengthening and helping the competitiveness and growth of the European SMEs and mid-caps. So yes, thanks also for helping a Commission in the co-organization of the EDI event, of the European Digital Innovation Hubs event, which was a great success. And let me finally mention that the COVID-19 pandemic induced to additional activities of the project that were not envisaged. So we are aware of that. We know that you increased the amount of remote work, remote meetings, webinars, workshops, and all physical meetings stopped. You can see now we are virtually trying to end and to celebrate a successful project. So yes, let me mention that many of the colleagues, many of the project members had to be isolated, are still some of them in their respective homes. So this increased notably the amount of work. So let me mention that it was key, the people and the team of DIHNET, because they did a great work, because you managed to communicate among all the hubs, nodes, and the whole network within this pandemic situation. So congratulations to the consortium. Great job. And yes, I will miss our monthly meeting discussions with the coordinators, among other things. And I would not leave without thanking my counterpart in DG Connect, Matthias Kuhn, with his experience, we went through this trip of DIHNET together. So thanks a lot and have a nice final meeting day today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Anna, also for the kind words and also for the support provided to the DIHNET. next session is from Mayte, one of our partners, Funding Box, and she is going to talk about the DIHNET community and connection with other initiatives.
Yes. Hello, thank you, Christina, and special thanks to Anna from the Commission for your kind words. Really, it was a hard work during these 3 years that we enjoyed a lot, but to listen to this recognition from the European Commission really feels good. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody. I'm Mayte Carracedo, working at Funding Box. Our role was mainly being responsible for building this DIHNET community, and in my session now, I'm going to reflect about this activity that we were implementing during these years. So I will start sharing my screen. Okay, yeah, I think I'm there. So yes, first of all, to mention which were the challenges that we found when we arrived here. And I'm not just mentioning the challenges that we were developing on the ideation part of the project, but the real ones that we found once we started to work with the digital innovation hubs. And one of them was that there were a lot of information, right, coming from different places to digital innovation hubs. So we really wanted to help and to see how we could centralize this into one single point that would make life easier for digital innovation hubs. Also, we felt that there was some kind of gap, right, between the regions and the hubs and the European Commission sometimes. So we really tried to fill that gap, okay, by being the bridge or the connector between the voice of the hubs community and the European Commission, with whom we always had a very close collaboration. So also, sorry, I'm having a problem here for some reason. Yeah, I will start again. So also we identified that the catalog was a very useful tool, okay, for us to identify who were the main players, the main digital innovation hubs in Europe. But this tool did not allow hubs to collaborate among each other. So we also tried to advance on that aspect, okay, offering you a place where hubs could communicate and could interact to each other. And then the topics of real interest. Those topics that are interesting for the hubs are not a list of static topics, right? We are organizations, you are organizations that are continuously evolving, right? We are kind of a startup facing new challenges every 2 weeks. So there were many topics that you didn't know how to solve. And from DIHNET, we always try to be on top of those topics, okay? And trying to find some solutions for you and to really reflect on those topics. We also need to say that with the COVID times, okay, we realized that, you know, it was more difficult for you to network, okay? We were missing those events in Brussels that were so useful at the beginning for you to network, okay? And then we decided that to keep working on the online solution, okay? So I'm sorry because I'm having problems to make my slides to advance. Anyway, I hope now I can do it. So, looking at all those challenges that I was mentioning and also the difficult for you to collaborate with international networks, we became this umbrella that Anna was mentioning, right? So we wanted to be the CSA of all the initiatives that were acting for the digital innovation hubs, okay? But also for the networks that were currently existing around different technology areas or even new networks that we were even creating, like the Precursor Network. That was not an easy job because you can imagine how busy the scope of our goals were, okay? But still, we were always fighting for being the one central point where you could go and you can find all the information, okay? But you could network and you can connect, okay, with other digital innovation hubs. That was our network. And I will now reflect on how we were able to achieve this umbrella organization that is helping digital innovation hubs in Europe. And on this, again, I'm having problems, sorry to do this. I will go through the main assets, right? So how we were able to build this DIHNET community at the European level, and which were our main assets that we were leveraged on. Okay, the first one was the online community. Since the very beginning, we bet for the online solution, the one single point that could gather all the ecosystem in an online place, okay, and where you could find information, you could meet your peers, right? And we were very successful with this online community. I have prepared a video that I will share with you at the end of my presentation with the main highlights of this DIHNET community so I will not reflect more on it in this moment. But the other kind of activity that was very successful for gathering our community and giving a moment for us to reflect, okay, and to discuss about topics of interest were the events, okay. This was very much appreciated by our community. And of course, if we look at all the events that we were implementing, that were many of them, okay, the biggest one was our event last January, right? The Gearing Up Towards EDIs event. I think you might agree with us that that was really a key point for candidate EDIs, for us to reflect and to better understand where we are going, right? What is the policy behind and what we need to follow if we want to be a successful European DIH. And this was we had a lot of participants and a lot of sessions and a lot of content, okay? Some of it is still available on different channels, so you can consult now in your preparation phase for the EDI application. But I was mentioning that we also wanted to reflect, right, on which are the topics that are really interesting you, and you need to find some kind of vision on it, right? And this is what we call the thought leadership, okay? So we were always working around those topics. And maybe the most successful one was the precursor network, right? So there was a need in the ecosystem for those candidate EDIs to start discussing about the potential collaboration, which are the topics of interest for such a connection among you, okay? What can be the shape, what can be even the governance of a future association among you? So about all these topics we were discussing during the precursor network, and we were sharing the results with the European Commission. What was also very relevant in this process of building a community was that we were never alone, okay? We were always very well connected with the other initiatives that were working for digital innovation hubs. So for them, we offer a space where all the funding opportunities for digital innovation hubs could be shared at DIHNET community. We were also hosting events coming from all these other initiatives that were of interest for digital innovation hubs. We also offered to include the news and funding opportunities on our newsletter, okay? And also we offer them a space in our community for them to discuss with the hubs about the topics on their specific area. So many initiatives working with digital innovation hubs were working with us during our journey, and we really thank them for that collaboration. And maybe to finalize this part of what was important for building this community is the Champions Challenge, right? We use this as a kind of assessment tool, right? We wanted to map our ecosystem of digital innovation hubs and to kind of give a label, right, to the ones that were most successful at this stage, and to offer you the information about them so they could inspire you, okay, in your growing path. So you know that we were selecting 3 digital innovation hubs as the winners of our challenge. And thank you again to all of you that applied, okay, and of course, especially to the winners. So that was our activity, right? Of course, there were many other things that my colleagues will go through, okay? But maybe to me, those were the main assets that we were using for building this huge community. So now I allocate just a few minutes to reflect on the learnings, okay? And maybe I will separate what is the platform, the online platform where we were building this online community, from the huge community of the net. So about the platform, as I was mentioning, it was very useful to keep this community feeling alive, even those during these COVID times, okay? So we were missing those working group sessions for digital innovation hubs in Brussels. That was not possible anymore during these times, but now thanks to the online community, we were able to connect to each other, okay? But that was not enough, right? We realized that organizing events and questions and answers, okay, and publishing information about the events was very successful activity in our community also. The fact that the European Commission was endorsing this online community was also very helpful. Anytime that the Commission was talking about the online tool, inviting people to join, or even disseminating news that were shared through the online community was also very welcome on our side, because the number of users and the number of views was really, really high on those moments. So we also thank the Commission for that. Also, for those that were not very active on the community, but still part of this, we were offering them this kind of digest that was summarizing everything that was happening there. And that was also very useful, okay, for maintaining these people connected to this online tool. So all in all, I can say that an online tool is never enough, okay? It's never going to work just as such as the only place, as the only channel. But in our case, it was really the place where everything ended, okay? It was the kind of the beginning and the end of all our activities, and it was very useful for this feeling of community. And then to continue with the lessons learned, and now more on the DIHNET community in general, okay? The conclusions there have more to see with the value that we were offering, right? So we were not just focusing on activities and implementing things and acting with events and so on, but we really were interested in tracking the topics of interest for our community. And I think this visionary approach, and of course, thank you, Maurits, because you always were a leader there, okay, was very helpful, okay, for gathering the people and the stakeholders around DIHNET, okay, showing a leadership on those topics, and showing that the conclusions that we were achieving with our ecosystem were shared with the Commission. We had a good channel with them. We were a good bridge between the community and the Commission. Was really very, very useful, okay? And we were able to have a lot of participants in our activities. So maybe to finalize this part, I will mention about the importance of building in a good brand, okay? So we were really working hard for building the DIHNET brand, and it was worth, okay? Because now DIHNET, okay, is a brand that is recognized and appreciated by the ecosystem, and is able to attract a lot of people to this community. So maybe a good example of this is when you ask people, right, about which are the means that they are using for receiving information about digital innovation hubs, you can see that DIHNET is normally on the first places. So before finalizing my presentation, I would like to share with you a video that we were preparing, okay, also with the main highlights of this DIHNET community, okay? So I will start sharing my video here. It's not long, it's just 2 minutes, okay? And I will share this with you now.
The business world turned digital, access to technology defines success of an enterprise. Fortunately, digital innovation hubs have been established to solve this, but DIHs do not always have all the needed skills to support enterprises of their region in the digital transformation. They need to connect and network with other European digital innovation hubs to offer the best services to their customers. 3 years ago, the DIHNET community was created and is now home for 1,600 stakeholders from all over Europe, helping companies in their digital transformation, and with a clear goal, becoming the central information and collaboration point for the digital innovation hubs ecosystems in Europe. The community has helped transfer knowledge in topics such as IoT, digital and manufacturing, artificial intelligence, and establish connections through webinars and events, gathering around 5,000 attendees in total. Through the working groups, members have been able to discuss topics of common interest, financing activities, governance models, interregional collaborations. They learn from each other, have grown together, and formulated common policy recommendations. Digital innovation hubs working from the same country or working in the same deep tech area? Join DIHNet community that hosts collaboration spaces where more than 1,000 members discuss topics such as health, smart cities, or tourism, networking in their own language and with their own strategies. Through DIHNet's Hub of the Month, 29 innovation hubs have already shared their story and their expertise and have joined forces with other members, gaining visibility. DIHNet also provides a monthly bulletin that acts as a corridor to other coordinated support actions and related ecosystems such as I4MS, Roading, Open Day, allowing members to be updated with the latest news, funding opportunities, experts and events of the EU digitization ecosystem. The Precursor Network was created based on expert advice from the community looking for a future collaboration network of European digital innovation hubs and have created 11 suggestions for the formation of European digital innovation hubs. The DIHNet community will continue in this journey for the transformation of European digital innovation hubs and invites you to join the future of technological solutions for entrepreneurs. Share your views in DIHNet community. Brought to you by Funding Box in the framework of DIHNet initiative, funded by the European Commission.
Okay, so that was it about the DIHNET community, and maybe some last words about the legacy of DIHNET, even when, you know, my colleague Maurits and some of the rest of the colleagues will talk about the future. But I will just would like to let you know that the community will be there, okay? We are exploring ways on how to maintain it, but of course it will be still available for you with updated information. And maybe a final reflection, right, on the fact that this has been a very unique experience of one single organization or project, in this case, centralizing the information and resources for one player, the Digital Innovation Hubs. So we would like this legacy to be taken by next player, that in this case, it seems that it's going to be the Digital Transformation Accelerator. But still, okay, the DTA is going to have a limited time and a limited funding. So we really think that here what was born is a new way of supporting innovation in Europe, okay? All these digital innovation hubs, okay, have a lot to say. So we really think that there is room, okay, for a kind of an association or any kind of organization that can keep working on this movement. During the Precursor Network, we were suggesting this and we were starting to elaborate on this concept. And it's something that I would like also to launch to the last panel session for you, Maurits, and the rest of our colleagues to keep reflecting on, because maybe some of the initiatives and stakeholders that are listening to us today, or even the European Commission, okay, can take it from there. Because really there's a lot that was happening here, a lot of topics and a lot of legacy, okay, that really deserves, okay, even an organization for leading this. And with this, thank you. I will give the floor to my colleagues, okay, and to the next panel that will be led by my colleague Reinhard. Reinhard, the floor is yours, and stop sharing.
Yes, thank you, Mayte, for giving us an overview of what has happened during the last 3 years, and already a little bit of a glimpse towards what can happen to the future. So this is also our approach to this event. Of course, it's a final event, so we will be looking back a little bit, but we also will be looking forward. And that's why Reinhard comes in with his panel discussion about how these digital innovation hubs, the European networks, and how they can collaborate in the future, and how they can organize a vibrant DIH, European DIH community. So Reinhard, please take over.
Okay, thank you, Maurits, for the kind introduction. And I think for the panel discussion, we have, unfortunately, it's only half an hour, but we got some really good and inspiring speakers here. So first of all, we will go back to Mayte, getting a bit more insight, both from the DIHNET perspective as an inside view, but also as Mayte and Funding Box are representing other networks such as I4MS. She will also give us a few words on the outside view. Afterwards, we will look also into a view perspective from a member state with Geraud, who is also a part of the DIHNET consortium, but also representing LuxInnovation, and therefore, especially as Luxembourg is not the biggest country in Europe, he can tell us how important a European collaboration is and what the perspective on that would be. After that, we are moving to the Netherlands with Iddo Bante, giving us a view on what is needed for growth, what is important to be regionally grounded, and at the same time to have a good pan-European or wider collaboration, followed by Hugo Thienpont, who is representing not only a huge photonics hub, but also he is a professor and vice-rector of the Vrije University Brussels for the industry collaboration. And here also he will emphasize the importance of these collaboration aspects. And last but not least, we have Martin Winter from Clariant. Here we have a look into another sector, which is also pretty important. It's the process industry, a classic industry with a lot of also bigger players, and he will give us additional insight on this. I don't want to waste too much time, so Mayte, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Reinhard. Okay, so maybe I will complete my view that I was presenting before, right? Discussing a little bit of reflecting about the collaboration with the other networks and the collaboration between the networks and the digital innovation hubs, okay? And what were our learnings in DIHNET, but also in I4MS, okay, where we are coordinating the coordination and support action, and also the experience during this precursor network. So regarding the collaboration among the different initiatives, right? What I have to say is that it is not an easy goal to achieve, really. And I was the one really fighting for it. It's maybe my way of being, right? I'm a very collaborative person and a very ecosystem person. But I need to say that the success of this collaboration depends a lot, first, on the need for such a collaboration between the different initiatives, right? But it also depends a lot on the capacity of the coordinator behind the initiatives to generate some kind of empathy to the other players and also to offer some value to the other initiatives, right? Collaboration per se, okay, is not going to succeed. The collaboration needs to be a win-win behind it. Even though, okay, to arrive to concrete results is very challenging, especially because we have a limited time, right? Maybe that's one of the problems. But anyway, we have successful cases like DIHNET. Just before going back to that, okay, maybe to mention that maybe a little bit more pushing on the European Commission side, okay, for this collaboration to happen, I think it's always welcome, right? I would like also to raise that topic. But yeah, in DIHNET, as I was mentioning before, right, that's a very good example of a successful case of collaboration. Why? Because we were all targeting the same group, the digital innovation hubs. And it was clear with the time that DIHNET was able to really gather that community with those 1,600 members and all the noise around DIHNET. So for us, it was very easy to collaborate with the initiatives and to receive valuable information on their side. So it's possible, okay, but of course it's not easy. And if we talk about the collaboration between the initiatives, right, or the CSAs and the digital innovation hubs, what is our experience? Okay, our experience is that there is a lot of offer for digital innovation hubs, right? So what we really need to work on is to create a value proposition that will make their life easier when supporting digital innovation hubs, right? Sometimes for them to scout what is available, trying to understand and to organize the information for the hubs is not easy, okay? So any way we can help them to digest all this info, okay, is going to be very welcome. Of course, if there is some funding attached, any small voucher, any supporting budget for attending events in any way is always very, very welcome, okay? So for instance, in this way of organizing and digesting information at I4MS, we were organizing a webinar where we were inviting other initiatives working on digital transformation, and we identify what is the value for digital innovation hubs. And that was a very welcome initiative by the hubs community. Also, what we realize is that for digital innovation hubs, all the networking opportunities are very welcome. So we, from the coordination and support actions, from the innovation actions, we really have a big capacity to generate these brokerage in the ecosystem, right? So we really need to use this capacity to make them connect to each other, okay? And this is also something that the hubs they need, because some of them per se themselves were not very active until now on the European scene. So through these innovation actions and through these big initiatives, this is going to facilitate their life. Also, the information sharing, okay, between digital innovation hubs. Of course, there's the tools and the community and the catalog and so on, but to organize maybe specific working groups where there is a good orchestrator, okay? So we really need to have a leader that is suggesting the topics, dynamizing the conversation, taking the conclusions and sharing the conclusions with the community if possible, okay? But that is the kind of things that we felt that are really attracting the digital innovation hubs. And maybe to finalize my statement here, when it's related to the technology and to the knowledge acquiring, the innovation actions have a lot to say there. They really can empower and to inform the digital innovation hubs about their competences and the areas and expertise they are working on. But it's true that we realize that sometimes innovation actions are very closed around the group of digital innovation hubs, okay? So really there, I think more effort needs to be done on the side also of the innovation actions to open and make their ecosystem bigger and to more hubs. So yeah, that's a little bit my kind of conclusions to those topics.
Thank you very much, Mayte, for your good introduction to the next speaker. Basically, when we are talking about all the networking, Geraud, maybe you can give us a few words, especially on the collaboration part, cross-border, and how to bridge the current way of collaborating and the network created into the future with the eddies, but also with other elements that are or will be in place. Not really clearly loud enough, maybe.
Okay, I'm going to try to increase the volume then. So good morning, everyone. Good morning.
It's still not. Can you move the microphone closer?
Sure. How about that? Okay, thank you.
Great.
So it's really a pleasure to be there. Thank you very much for inviting me for speaking in this panel. And I would like to say first that I have completely agreement. I'm in a complete agreement with what Mayte just said. There is indeed a need for those EDH collaborations, and we need to look at how the networks can make life easier for the EDH. My statements in this session, I would like to make two big points, if you allow me, just to answer your question. The first one is about the need to realize that there is an evolution inside the EDH, specifically toward the EDH and toward the future, and that means also an evolution inside the networks and what they need to offer for all the EDH. I think we will all agree the work that has been made in the past 10 years, almost even more than 10 years, I have to say, about this DIH cooperation is tremendous. It's fantastic what has been done. And here, initiatives like I4MS or SAE, led by Funding Box A, must be commended, really. A lot of work has been made. Nevertheless, now there is a new player that is entering in the game for the DH, which is the local authorities or public authorities. And that means that those, despite the fact that before they were also taken into consideration, their roles inside those EDH cooperation or DIH cooperation is becoming more important. We can say, if you allow me to simplify a little bit, that before it was really the commissions and those representative of initiatives that were driving those DIH network, the industry associations, the PPPs, the partnerships, if you want to say that today. Now we have also to those ecosystem, we've got the public authorities that wants to take the lead. And when you are a public authority investing in initiatives, you are not necessarily thinking thematically. Of course, you are thinking about the smart specialization policies that you have made with the European Commissions, but the purpose of a public authority, a Ministry of Economy, being regional or national, is that the economy for which you are working thrive, the economy and the talent, if you know what I mean. Therefore, there is indeed a need for thematic networks, but there is a need for transversal ones, because even if you are specialized in HPC, to give an example, you might have a request coming from your ecosystem for AI, from cybersecurity, for any of the other digital technology we're mentioning. So my first point would be for the DIH cooperation. Joining what Mayte just said, we need those DIH networks to make the life easier for the DIH to support the entire economy and the entire talents of the ecosystem. That's what as public authorities were expecting. My second point is that so far there were indeed thematics networks at EU level, but because of the public authority interest now, there is a geographical approach that must be also addressed. And if you allow me to be a little bit mercantile from public authority perspective, we can talk about a return on investment made at regional level, regional/national level. The money that's going to be spent inside the EDH from the local authority perspective, we want to see this being useful for the local economy. And this is why there is this new need for networking at regional level. But when I say regional level here, I'm not mentioning regional in the terms that it is understood from the EDH perspective. I mean cross-border EDH, cross-border cooperations. And here, when I say cross-border, it doesn't necessarily mean national border, but it can be a regional border. It's cross-jurisdiction border, if you need. So by taking this, there is a fact that the local approach, the geographical closeness is becoming quite important, especially for complementarity of access to digital technologies, but also for scale up. I think this has been quite revealed that a small organization prefer to work with something which is closed before working at something which is further. Therefore, this cross-border EDH, this network of this cooperation and this network of EDH at local level is something that needs to be also addressed, and that's something that at the moment is not really formalized. I'm going to give, for example, the example of Luxembourg. We are currently building a close cooperation with the greater regions European Digital Innovation Hubs candidates, and we hope that justly we will be able to build this kind of new network. So when I'm looking at the future of cooperation, and I'm reaching my conclusion now, we see that indeed there will be a mesh of networks. And if you allow me to give a word that's going to, I hope, stick in the mind of people, actually it's going to be a lasagna of networks. There are going to be networks at EU level, like I4MS, like Castells, like technology-oriented networks. They're going to be regional networks. I mentioned again the greater region EDH, cross-border EDH, but I know there are some other initiatives like in the Baltics or in Bulgaria and Romania going on. And of course, there will be some thematics networks. I really hope that I4MS will continue. I really hope SAE will continue. I really hope the cybersecurity and the cybersecurity competence center will continue. So we will have a lasagna of networks. And joining again what Mayte said, we need all those networks to simplify the life of everybody. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Geraud. For the sake of time, I would immediately switch to the next speaker, Iddo. I think you are the right one to just respond to what Geraud just said.
Yeah, I like lasagna. But at the same time, when there are too many animals where the SMEs can have to look to and to say, help me, then it's a rather difficult situation. But okay, you asked me a couple of questions. The first was, what is needed for growth? And of course, the standard stuff, right? I mentioned the standard stuff like scalable technology, scalable business plans, the right teams, access to inspiring knowledge, and access to technology or application-specific test facilities. But I like to mention two other points. One is the access to a whole innovation chain, the value chain. In general, you see a lot of high-tech providers in many different regions. There are a huge amount of companies. And at the end of the value chain, or at the end of the innovation chain, you see a limited number of larger companies focusing on specific application domains. And we must facilitate the access of the large group of regional players to those limited group of bigger companies working at the European level. That's one element. Another element is the balance between makers and shapers. We can develop all kinds of new great technology, but the best technology will never generate impact without a good business plan. And the best business plan has no impact when there's no social acceptance of the technology. Look, for example, to the challenges of data and AI. So for growth, you really need to boss the technology readiness and also ethical, legal, social acceptance, and economic readiness. And many SMEs are too much focusing on the technology alone, but it's not about technology alone. And the other thing is, why do we need BOS, regionally funded or grounded activities like the DIHs, and looking for all kinds of European cross-border collaboration? It's clear that standing up and starting up your company is something that happens in a region. But for scaling up, your region and also quite often your country is too small. You need a European dimension, European market. And there are a lot of stumbling stones when you want to enter another market in another country. But when you have access to stepping stones instead of stumbling, so the stepping stones, access to their ecosystems, introduction to your potential customers, partners, access to finance when you want to set up something there in that specific country and you need local investment, that can be very important. Provided that it's a process what is not organized too bureaucratically. So it must be a system based on trust and not too many progress reports for local governments, for the EC and for all other players. And another element, what's very important, the European dimension can be important for your product development and for your testing. Let's look to, for example, the development of sophisticated drones. You go in small steps from an in-house research lab via outdoor test facilities to the real world, from low TRL in a very controlled environment to high TRL in an open environment. And you need, therefore, a cascade of research and test facilities. And in most cases, all these facilities are not available within one single region. So you need to cooperate. What is then also the link between digital innovation hubs and regions and larger activities like PPPs? It starts in the region, but the PPPs are connecting regional ecosystems at the EU level. That means that the PPPs are bringing together the EC, private and public partners together, and they develop a joint vision, and they share this vision with their partners. That means their technology and the market insights are shared, and that can give the digital innovation hubs and their SMEs in that making use of their services, that gives them a broader view about the market, about the technology developments. They can get a better picture how that technology fits the EU-wide trends. And that means also that via these PPPs, you have access to all the different players in those innovation chains or value chains. So, and standardization, the ELSA topics, such like legislation, for that kind of stuff, you need a European approach. You cannot leave it to the regions. And very important for many players, the regions and the digital innovation hubs will be HaDEA. HaDEA is a PPP, a European PPP focusing on AI, data, and robotics. And then they really are bringing together these ecosystems at the European level. And HaDEA will be open for membership applications on November 25. So that's already next month. So be our partner.
Thank you, Iddo, for this introduction from your side and also mentioning the link to the partnerships, which are also some of the structures that should not be disconnected. Maybe Hugo, thank you very much for joining this session. You can give us a few insights about what you did in the photonics area here. You are muted.
Okay, perfect. Can I share a few slides, please?
Yes, please. Should I share or would you directly?
I would like to share, but you have to give me permission.
Oh, normally that should be possible.
No.
No, otherwise I should be able to quickly share. So we
try now.
Check
it's
the
okay.
time.
Thank you.
Can you
Thank
try
you.
now? Okay.
Okay. We really need to look a bit at the time. Time is running.
Sure.
I want to allow.
So can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much, Reinhard, for inviting me here and give and share with everybody here in the virtual room 3 best practices of our Pan-European Innovation Hub for Photonics. I fully agree with Iddo, who just explained that if you really want SMEs to successfully innovate with a key digital technology, a key enabling technology, like, for example, photonics, the SMEs need support along the entire innovation valley of death. That means not only in deep technology, but also in the business and the finances. That means that if companies come to us, we orienteer them, first of all, of course, in the deep technology support from TRLs 3 to 8, prototyping, upscaling, and manufacturing all over Europe. But also we really focus on their on business coaching, because very often their business plans are not on par with what we'd like to see. Okay, and then when those companies need to invest, we help them with investment coaching. And in case they are going to do the manufacturing themselves, we're going to train or reskill their employees. So my first message is, you don't need a patchwork. I think you need a one-stop shop, certainly for photonics, in this case, a pan-European one-stop shop that is the umbrella of all those different types of support. When the SME comes in, we orienteer them whether they need training support, deep technology support, business and financial support, or anything at the same time. Now, this took us 15 years of EU-wide networking, integration, access, pilot line efforts to create that solid basis for a one-stop shop photonics digital innovation hub. As has been said, in our regions, we don't have all of the best technologies. We have to give the companies the best technology available in Europe. And if that's cross-border, then that will be cross-border. Secondly, like any other key digital technology, also photonics is a key enabler for every type of high-tech SME in whatever sector they're working. So most of the SMEs that we're supporting are working in other sectors, other industry sectors like agro-food, defense, energy, mobility, health, rather than in photonics. There are 5,000 SMEs working in photonics, but there are 260,000 high potential SMEs that can benefit from photonics innovation, but that in most cases don't know. So we create awareness, and then we work with them, and then we do wonderful things. In this case, the majority of our customers are non-photonics companies. 65% of those companies never heard of photonics before, and yet we're able to really work with them. My message number 3 is, when we provide innovation support or any other type of support to the European companies, be they SMEs or large-scale companies, for prototyping, upscaling, and manufacturing, we only subsidize those projects when there is a strong cross-border component. Okay, what does that mean? It means that if your SME is in a certain member state, then we're going to check for them for the very best support that is available in Europe. If that's cross-border, we're going to finance it. If they find the best support in their own region, they should use the regional funding. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can always contact me or send Reinhard maybe an email, or go to our website, photonhub.eu. I would be there to answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hugo, for this good presentation. And due to the lack of time, we immediately switch to Martin Winter. he was pretty much involved in the Spire partnership, and which is now the process for
Processes for Planet.
Processes for Planet partnership. And I think you can give us a very good complementary view, also bringing some aspects which are not the typical digital contents here.
Yeah, thank you, Reinhard, first of all, for having me here and listening a little bit to the perspective of the process industry. In my capacity, I'm part of the Industrial Advisory Board of the Processes for Planet Partnership since 6 years already, so I have quite a background also for Spire. I'm sharing also the digital working group in this partnership. And it goes without saying that digital technologies are extremely important for the process industry. The challenge is just very often, they are not available from the shelf. What is, really useful for discrete manufacturing and automotive industry, for example, does not really very often fit well with the specific requirements of the process industry. So basically what we need is a type of co-creation process. So basically, since the time I have been in Brussels also supporting the European Commission for the Digital Innovation Hub design, I was always thinking how this could be now leveraged in the process industry. And just maybe I thought a little bit about this, and one idea we have in the process industry is having kind of what we call hubs for circularity. So this is a kind of little bit different, but the same as you do with the Digital Innovation Hub. So the Hubs for Circularity is kind of a regional community set up. It has industries, it has startups, it has academia, but it has also the public sector, for example, municipalities and cities and society in its widest sense. And basically this is a type of regional setup to have a test bed testing new technologies. For example, recycling technologies. One example, for example, recycling plastic waste coming from a city. To make chemical recycling, to transform this into a new type of product. So really testing disruptive technologies, besides, of course, developing new business models and coming to co-investments of new technologies. But one element of this hubs for circularity is, of course, testing digital technologies. And I wonder now, how can we basically find these synergies? How we can have an hubs for circularity, working on climate neutrality and product and energy circularity, and finding the right interface now with what you created in the regions with digital innovation hubs. I think this could be a super nice synergy, where we bring these initiatives together from my perspective. This is a point I would like to make here. Again, digital technologies are super important for the process industry. If you look in our new SRIA, which we just have published, I think, a couple of days ago, because we had the last the first partnership board meeting of the partnership just last week, and the digital part is extremely important. Maybe you might have to want to look into this SRIA of the Processes for Planet partnership. And the question is now, how can we formalize this? Now, how can we really bring these initiatives closer together, avoiding that we always working in silos? Because we need this input from the digital industries into the process industry. This is what I would like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Martin. I think this opens new perspectives and shows that there are, how Moritz would like to phrase it normally, animals around that are not too well connected. But I think the time of the panel is over, but maybe someone from the audience might still place one or two short questions to the chat that can be answered by the panelists.
So there is a question here. Well, I think it's from Christina. Like, if you could share some examples of how collaboration among the different actors in your networks, it's supported to support SMEs. So we heard from networkers for the DIHs, PPPs of Photonics.
So maybe I don't know who wants to answer first. Hugo, Martin, do you want to answer that question? You're muted. Yeah.
It's a 10 million euros question, Reinhard. I think it's a very difficult one. We have been trying to contact several of the pan-European digital innovation hubs, and honestly speaking, it's very, very difficult to really start an in-depth contact. So I think we really have to consider that and make it work. Or, I mean, I have no problem with lasagna. I like lasagna as well, but I think it must be a very well structured lasagna. Okay, and that is something we really have to work about. I don't have a solution at this stage. My personal opinion would be to start with a couple of those top level, very engaged, very active digital innovation hubs, team up, make a memorandum of understanding, say how we're going to collaborate, and then start to enlarge the family. But that memorandum of understanding must have a couple of key bullets, very important topics where we really engage to do things together and put the necessary effort in that cross-fertilization, in transferring leads, in reorienting companies to other digital innovation hubs. It's going to be something massive, and I think at this moment most of the digital innovation hubs are focusing on starting up themselves and not immediately on cross-fertilization with others. That is my short reply.
Thank you, Hugo. I don't know whether Martin, Iddo, or Geraud or Mayte want to add something here.
Yeah, we also have more questions in the chat, so maybe we can just move to the next one.
Yes, please go to the next one.
Time a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe just 1 minute more. Is it okay?
We can just ask this next one. Is
yes, one question.
Are you linking your EDs strongly with the European missions? The technology focus RDA is essential. So I don't know if somebody wants to add something here.
Geraud, if you try to speak.
Maybe I can jump quickly in. It's a difficult question at the time, because if the missions, I assume that the one who asked the question, which was Makula, is referring to the missions inside Eurozone Europe. So I'm the delegate representing Luxembourg for the Cluster 4 program committee. So we have been talking a lot about just the synergies between all those aspects. And at the moment, it's a little bit difficult to realize what those missions will be concretely be. No discussion about the objectives, no discussion about the form that it will take, etc. This is not the purpose of this. But since those, as far as I understand so far, those the missions will have work programs. Those work programs will have calls with topics, and therefore we will be certainly inside synergies that's going to be mentioned, not only between Horizon Europe, but probably also beyond other funding programs and at regional level as well. So at the moment, from my perspective, it's difficult to say this. We are looking at it. It's one new instrument, one of the new animals in the funding landscape, but the concrete synergies, for me, it's too early to reply to this question.
Okay.
Maybe my co-chairs would like to add something from the industry perspective.
I think the time is basically running out, so I think we unfortunately cannot too much continue with this discussion, but it would be great to have this continued on another basis. Before we close that panel, I would really like to thank all the speakers, and also Marco Makula, the former president basically of the Committee of the Regions within Europe, which is also a very good thing to see you here. And thanks for the question. I think this is an important discussion, and I hope we have the chance to complete this one in the near future in a similar round, even if the DIHNET project has ended. With this, I would thank again, and floor back to Maurits.